So here's another story for you guys, and this is a story about a guy that clearly did not self-delete, and his name is Jeffrey Epstein. And this is the gift that keeps on giving because it seems like with each passing day, we just keep hearing more and more and more and more and more about this guy, Jeffrey Epstein, what he was about and what was going on. And this is a crazy story for you guys. So, two New York Times reporters, Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan, wrote a book, and it's called Regime Change. And it's about the presidency of Donald Trump, and it's out. You could buy this book. They did roughly 1,000 interviews over the last 2 years with people who were within the Trump administration, right? This is where the shitstorm starts. Because 10 days after the DOJ and FBI released a memo declaring there was no Epstein client list and Epstein self deleted, J.D. Vance presided over an emergency situation room meeting to try and handle the backlash that came because they were like, there are no Epstein files. And everyone's like, this is fucking bullshit. You campaigned on releasing these fucking files. We know you fuckers have these files. Epstein's house got fucking raided. There's literally drone foot, allegedly, there's allegedly drone footage. Someone flew a drone over Epstein's island as the fucking Southern District of New York was there with the NYPD when they raided the fucking place. Okay. So we know you guys got something. You clearly took hard drives and you took computers and you took cleaned out servers and everything. So clearly you guys have files. So they, of course they denied having these files. They had a big internal meeting in the situation room and it was very interesting. Trump himself was not there, but specifically the juicy part is that Pam Bondi was responsible for releasing these files. And Pam Bondi, for those of you who don't know, she was the former attorney general of the US, right? So she ran the DOJ. And she came out and she was on Fox News February of 2025. And she said, you guys will remember this clip because this went viral online. Oh, the Epstein list is sitting on my desk right now. We're combing through it. She made it seem like, oh, we're working on it. We're going to put it out. And then they come out and they're like, oh, yeah, there are no files. So, anyway, let's fast forward a little bit here. Then on February 27th, the White House has a briefing with all these people who are pro MAGA, big time MAGA supporters. So they had like Mike Cernovich, Liz Wheeler, Colin Rugg, and another guy, DC Trano. Bondi walked in carrying boxes, had these binders that she described as the Epstein files. And guess what? They weren't even vetted by the White House. The White House had no idea what was going on. And the reality was she gave these binders out and there was nothing in these fucking binders. And it was all shit that we already knew about Epstein because it was released in a prior tranche of files. So after all this happens, Dan Bongino, who was the deputy FBI director, storms into Pam Bondi's office and it literally runs in there, crashes into the fucking meeting like the Kool-Aid man, and goes into this DOJ meeting and he screams at her, you fucked this whole thing up from the start. The way you've been talking about this dumb fucking charade with the Epstein files, this they're on my desk nonsense, all the promises to folks out there. So Bongino was fucking pissed because he knows the files are real. He knows the government's fucking up and they don't want to put it out because they're clearly protecting people who are in the files, which I'll get to in a second. My take on what's going on there. Both Bongino and Cash Patel then told a White House official that Bondi needed to resign. And I wholeheartedly agree. It's like you can't just say one thing and then backpedal and then give these people these fucking fake binders that have nothing nonsense in them. Everything's all blacked out. It's all redacted anyway. You can't do that. So now that's the whole big clusterfuck that's going on in the background, right? So 2 days after Bongino blows up on Pam Bondi, they go into a situation room meeting with Susie Wiles, Bondi, Blanche, and Cash Patel. And the moment that Bongino sits down, Susie Wiles, who is the White House chief of staff, she accuses Bongino of leaking a story about Epstein and Trump to ABC News. And Bongino replies, I'll give you $100,000 in cash right now if you can prove it. I'm not kidding. Walk out to the West Executive Wing, put the reporter on speaker, and get him to admit that I leaked it. $100,000. If you really think about it, it's even insane that we're hearing about this. So there were 1,000 interviews conducted over the last 2 years by two New York Times reporters. Now we know that the New York Times clearly doesn't like Trump, but to do 1,000 interviews over the last 2 years and piece this together, and this all comes from Jeffrey Epstein's files, which, by the way, they didn't even put out the second half of the files. There are still 6 million files that have not been put out. The government is supposed to put these files out. There are 6 million files that have not been released, and they won't put them out. And they're saying, "Oh, well, we'll redact some information to protect the victims and whatever." No one has an issue with that. Everyone wants the victims to be protected. We want justice. That's what's going on with these files. Clearly, something was going on. Clearly, Epstein had clients. People were flying on his jets. People were going to his island. People were going to his Manhattan mansion. People were going to the Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. People were going to his apartment in Paris. The guy was well connected because the information in them is so damning that people will literally call. I don't even want to say, like, people are going to call for a lot of powerful, influential people to just be locked up and for the key to be thrown away. That's how bad these files are. And they're protecting people who donated to the Trump campaign, and they're protecting their buddies. And that's exactly what's going on. One of the guys that was in the original Epstein file email leak that, got released, he was like, "Thanks for sending the torture video," allegedly, or something like that. And that guy ran some big travel company in Dubai. These people, and by the way, that guy has a relationship with Trump because apparently he's allegedly one of the investors in World Financial, which is Trump's crypto firm. So it all ties in. Do I think Trump himself is in the files? Maybe he's in there and he's like trying to cover it up or whatever. But the files are coming out. And if he's in there, he's fucked. And there's nothing he can do. And that's just the reality of the situation.